Hey, I pressed that button for a second time today. And look, I'm streaming again. How is that possible? How is that possible? I have what, 6 other bots watching me, including Commander Root. Thank you for watching, Commander Root. Alright, and stream elements, glad to see you're here. I'm gonna unlurk all the bots. Okay, couple things. Couple things I wanted to try. Back in that model render, right? These two things I wanted to put into a structure and I couldn't. Well, I actually tinkered with this a little off stream and got it to work. So all I did was I tried what I did earlier today. So I'm gonna try it again. I think I was being hampered by some other issue. It had nothing to do with this structure. The idea is to group render pass and queue together into another struct called tools that we allow be set up by the caller, where maybe it was this. Some of these lifetimes are wrong, I think. Yeah, I think that's what it is. If I just do tools is that, and I do let tools equal tools fill in okay, and then go to the app. Yep, and then here I do oh, hold on, first I need to re-export render tools as model render tools. You know, I shouldn't have this word model here, should I? What to do here? Take model off the re-export names, because model is the name of our module. Anyway, model render tools. Okay, and then I should just be able to use that here. Model render tools. Fill in the structure, and then Q is this part. Yeah, see, it builds. Cool. I thought I'd be able to do that. All right. Let's go ahead and do this then. Renaming alias is currently not supported. Okay, so we'll have to do it manually. Find all references, 4 of them. What I'll do is I'll copy this into the clipboard, paste that. Oh, take that back. Undo. I don't want to find all references, so I guess I want to do find, like just a general find. I don't see that there, so I'm just going to use this find tool here. Weird how it wraps it twice, isn't that funny? Okay, so take that, paste, save, and then there's 2 more. I can't just paste, I have to double click. Okay, let's do the same thing with the other 2. Put that. Oh, wait, hold on. Go back. I don't want to change it there. Yeah, that's right. I want to change it sort of like here. Yeah. In fact, I want to do it to, whoops. I want to do to all of those. And now I lost my place. Where was I? App? Here we go. So I want to alt click all of these. Put as. Select the next word, go back, paste. Go to the beginning of the line and remove the word model. I want to do that. Okay, and then in model, to remove yeah, just delete that and remove these models. Okay, and it says model instance. Oh, that's interesting. So that's true too, right? That should be called, that should be consistent, should just be called instance. Instance. Cool, no warnings, no errors. Run it again. And interesting, outside of the virtual machine, I can hit 1,000 cubes and it stays at 60 FPS. Like even if I have several thousand cubes, this one, it noticeably drops down, like right away. Still is a pretty large number of cubes, right? There are a couple more things I want to change. When I rotate, it's rotating the camera in place, but it actually I think it would look better if instead we put the camera on a sphere or looking at the center, so that, because like it's kind of useless to look off to the side where there is nothing. But if we were always focused on the center, I think it would look nicer. I'm gonna do that. First, I'm gonna check this in. So this is group model renderer tools together. And remove redundant word model from models exports. This is refactoring. I think what happens, I have this problem where if I hit Command S W, it actually types W rather than closing the window. And I think it's because Command S is like deactivating command for the virtual machine. Command S, I'm guessing, is being interpreted by the virtual machine as some kind of shortcut. But then it like turns off the command key state for it. I verified it doesn't happen outside the virtual machine. All right. Yeah, so let me think where we set up the camera. This look direction. Where am I using that? Shouldn't the field of view go in there? Start. Oh, okay, that's remembering the camera orientation before we start dragging. Yeah, never mind then. That one's okay. Draw models. I'll render. Okay, so here's the view. Right. I actually want to give this thing a name. I want to call it let view transform distance. I want to do that. And then I want to actually put it, I want to do this multiplication first. View transform rotation is elevation and azimuth, right? So that we have just rotation and distance. Then what I want to do is I want to put distance on the left-hand side because I think that's. So we're going to basically rotate the world and then move the camera back. And when we move it back, I don't want to move it along the y-axis because that'll screw things up. I'm just going to put it like that. So moving it 50 units back from wherever, in the direction of whatever we're rotating. I think this is what I want. So if I rotate around, yeah. It's not rotating very fast though. Let me apply I think I want to apply a multiplier to, is that centered on 0, 0? It doesn't, oh, the ground isn't centered. Look at that. Like, it's rotating around this spot, which isn't the center. Let me fix that. Let's move the ground back to where it should be, like right in the center. That would be in the app, I think. No, it would be models. Struck the ground here, right? Yeah. Also, the ground is at. That's fine. We can. This is it's putting the ground 2 units down. But here's the problem, right? It's at 515, so this should be 10 all around. Do this with multi cursors. Okay, and then fade it up. Well, the elevation is actually in the right units. If we're elevating the camera up, spinning that around. Cool. Add some cubes here. Still amusing to me. Oh, another thing I'd like to do is delete cubes that fall too far. Also, it'd be nice if kick actually bounced everything around. Play with that rather than just kicking the first cube around. We can just, you know what we can do for kick is we can just apply a random force to everything. Maybe reset. Reset puts the first cube back. What if reset just deleted everything and started over 1 cube? But first things first. What's the first thing? What did I want to do first? Oh, this is not sensitive enough. The camera move. Let me apply like a camera sensitivity. Where should that go? The camera is moved by the main. No, not the main. The app. I'm getting ahead of myself. I made some changes. I didn't check them in. Right, this is to clean up the view transform. Okay, so refactoring, clean up view transform, matrix calculation. And then it was apply view rotation first and then translation to get the camera rotate around the scene rather than rotating in a spot away from the platform. Okay. All right, and then This was center the ground. Center the ground. Okay, in the app, when we handle a message, there's like a drag, mouse drag. Right here it is. So we're taking the FOV into account. That used to be a good amount of rotation, but I think we're gonna have to scale that some way. So let's just put in a constant here. A camera drag scale, and then we'll just define something for that. What are the units? Units are, I don't know, F64. Okay, so at the top of this module, add a constant, camera drag scale, type F64. So I'm gonna just guess that it's a scale factor 5. This is the amount we scale mouse drag gestures in order. Calculate. Camera rotation changes. Wow, this is probably a record. I've gone 16, almost 17 minutes, and no one's chatted anything yet. Okay, that feels a lot better. I can drag the world around really nice. The ground, you can't see it from underneath. Maybe we should fix that, or maybe I just keep it the way it is, you know? Oh, there's Metal Storm, just broke the streak at 17 minutes and 10 seconds. Metal Storm, how are you doing? And Watch Out One is coming in hot on number 2nd, and Ivan the Raging Python, hello. Now that the streak has been broken, they're all coming out of the woodworks. At 200 cubes for celebration purposes. Yay. I think when they leave the far clipping plane at like 100 units, we should just delete them. At 1,000 cubes. Yay. Cube explosion. All right. So if I zoom way the far out, I mean, it is more. It is rotating it more. Maybe I should not use the FOV then. Zooming really far. Yeah, now it's not rotating enough. So I don't think I want to take FOV into account. Now that it's rotating around the scene rather than rotating from a point in the scene, I think then it doesn't make sense to scale by the FOV at all. So I'll take this out, and given that it was about 40 when I was playing around with it, I think I want to need to multiply that by 40. So that would be 200, right? To even it out. Yeah. Way the far out. Yeah. Not going to curse. You're not going to make me. Okay, that feels nicer. Okay, zoom way out. Still okay. Okay. Cube explosion. Oh, that's pretty cool. 120-degree field of view with that. So we're not actually moving the camera here. We're changing the field of view of the camera from 10 degrees to 120 degrees. So what's it really like? Maybe to my eyes, maybe about 20 degrees. So that's like sort of the actual distance we're away, sort of. Boom. Hey there, A squared. How are you doing? Net Chronos. Cube explosion indeed. So there are still 2001 cubes, even though we can't see them. So let me check this in, and we'll look about destroying cubes that fall out of the world. So this is like improve camera rotation drag. Right. I think what we should do, is look into the physics engine and see if there's something that's built into that can tell us like what we really want to know is when a cube like passes a certain y coordinate that we want to just automatically delete it. So maybe there's already something in the physics engine to do that. We can look at this guide here. Scene queries, maybe. Take all the colliders of the physical world into account. These queries are available through query pipeline. What is this? Okay. The code that lets you just put a big plane that runs code on. Well, I thought about that, but then the plane would have to be really huge because something might shoot off almost horizontally and like somehow get past a finite sized collider. So I'm thinking like the simpler and foolproof way would be if there's a trigger that if the y goes less than negative 100, then it triggers and we just delete it. Yeah. Ray casting, I don't want that, although that's pretty cool. Can I plane cast? Shape casting. We have a complete shape traveling along a straight line. That's not pretty cool though. Point projection. Project a point on the closest collider of the scene, or will enumerate every collider containing the given point. Okay. Intersection test. Proximate intersection test. Query filters. So that's for ignoring certain things. You'd think it'd be a simpler thing to like have a query that like lets me just look at the coordinates and say yes or no and do something with them. And look it up. So rapier, test all colliders. Or how about, I didn't mean to hit that. I just lost what I was typing. More careful. Rapier, delete all colliders. Enumerate colliders? Filter colliders? By position? More results, please. Not a very good query, I think. I think I failed on this one. Yeah. I failed. Maybe go back to colliders and see if there's something in the intro here. So you make a collider, there's solid and sensor. Okay, there's a sensor collider. That's what we were talking about, a squared, right? Just generate an event when something touches or enters an area. But if I could make a collider that has like infinite size in 2 dimensions, it's like a half volume. Like basically partition space into 2 parts and have one part of the space be tied to this collider, maybe. See, I don't think we're gonna get one. I'm guessing it might explode, yeah. I mean, I guess I could try, but I was hoping there'd be some, like, you would think that there'd be a common thing to like detect when something has gone is gotten too far away. You might want to destroy it. Wonder what would happen if you like added a joint to every cube that When it gets too far away from the center of the world, it just snaps and gets killed. Like free joint or something. Free spherical joint. What would that do? I think joints actually keep things close together. They don't let them far apart. Hmm. Maybe it's under advanced collision detection. Skimming. You might just have to enumerate all the colliders and just check them all. Talks about how the solvers work, right? Hooks. Modify contacts, filter contacts. I wonder if that's what I want to add, like a physics hook. What does contacts do? Oh, we were just looking at this before, right? That's like it gives me two of them and it tells me if they should collide or not. Go back. Did I go too far back? I went too far back. Advanced collision detection. There we go. Physics hooks. Contact modification. Use collision detection. That's for bullets and stuff like that. Fast moving objects to not miss any contacts. Let's look at common mistakes. Yeah, this is the first thing I ran into, right? I gave something, I didn't give it mass and I didn't give it oh, what was it? If you don't give it any mass because it's right, it didn't have a collider at first. I made a rigid body with no collider and no mass and it didn't move. I probably don't need to give it any mass anymore now that it has a collider, right? Yeah, I could probably remove the extra mass I added. Yeah, I had to attach some extra mass to the body before I added the collider in order to get it to work. Nation panics. We haven't seen that happen. Why is everything moving in slow motion? Well, we know why. This is it. We're not doing that. What's things started? Huh. They get right into use bevy. That's if we were putting this into a game engine. Why do they separate this between Rust and Bevy plugin? Huh, I don't know. Let's go look at collider set. What can we do with the collider set? Can we just enumerate it? We can iterate through all the collectors on the set, the colliders in the set. We can iterate through all the enabled colliders. We can iterate mutably. Remove a collider from the set and updates parent. So probably we probably can't do that while we're iterating, right? So I'd have to iterate through and get a collider handle for all of the bodies that we should need to delete, and then go and delete them. Well, let's at least do that. Well, did I test to make sure I got the camera scale right? Yeah, look, it feels good. Okay, step is a good place to do it, right? No, step is not a good place, because step only has access to what's in the physics world, which are all these things. It doesn't have access to, because we also want to delete it from our model instances, so it would be whatever's calling this. Redraw. So what if we do that here? So destroy all model instances that fall too far down. So we're gonna collect into a container like a set of handles. So does it really matter what container type I use? I might as well just use a vector, right? So let colliders. Before I get too far, shouldn't I put this into a function like self dot destroy lost model instances? Then move that into, I can type that again. Might as well put that into my clipboard instead. I need to sort these methods, by the way. Okay, so let colliders equal self dot physics world dot colliders dot iter dot filter collider where collider dot okay, we do get two things. We get a collider handle and a collider. So it's the handle that I care about, right? No, actually I need both of them. A handle and a collider. It's if collider dot I got to filter and then I got to select the handle and then collect those, right? So this is, can I get the position? I can get the position. Position dot, what's the position? It's an isometry, which is isometry 3. We're in algebra. So what is this? 3? How do I work with this? What is an isometry? It's got a rotation and translation aspect. Okay, fair enough. So I want like the translation, right? Translation dot y is less than some point. So like lost. Naming is hard. Lost threshold. Lost lost threshold. Best I can come up with. Let's find that at the top. I think it's a 32 in the bit in the physics engine. So it's negative 100. This is the distance from, well, this is the distance down from the plane at y equals 0 that any model instance can, oh, this is the maximum distance down from the plane at y equals 0 that any model instance can move to without being destroyed. Okay. So, okay. Tab. How come tab doesn't work? I'm hitting tab, right? I don't think I'm hitting tab. Tab isn't working. Not even on my other keyboard. How come tab doesn't work? What the heck? I feel like one of the it thinks one of the modifiers is held down. I broke it. Hold on. I broke it, chat. Well, tab is working outside of the virtual machine. It's just not working inside. We just reboot the virtual machine at this point. It's just that the, oh, what's this tab moves focus? Okay, that was it. Whatever tab moves focus was, somehow I got into some mode, I guess. Don't need to reset. Abort. Don't need to reset anymore. Okay, that's the predicate for what we filter out. It was lower than that. Then I want to map it. I don't care about the collider. It's just a handle. Vertical bar there, and it's just collider. And then collect those into a vector. I put the wrong thing there. I want the handle. So I should get a vector of collider handles. There we go. So then we're just going to say for collider in colliders, self.physicsworld.colliders remove collider, then self.physicsworld.islandManager and self.physicsworld.bodies, and wake up is, why do we have a wake up flag? If wake up is true, the rigid body the collider is attached to will be woken up. We don't need to, right? We want to, we're going to destroy it anyway. So I guess we can just make that false. But before we do that, we're going to need to get like the rigid body out. And I'll also need to solve this compiler error, whatever it is. Yeah, I solved the compiler error. I didn't need the handle there, right? We filter by collider and get the handle. Okay, so I have to detach the collider from the rigid body, and I also need to like know which model instance that rigid body was attached to. And right now I think I have a link between, hold on, I forget. Did I put a rigid body handle in the model instance, I think? Yeah. The instance has the rigid body handle, but how do we go the other way? Like, given a rigid body handle, how do we know which instance it is? I think for that, I'll need some kind of map. So why don't we just add that now? Because I don't think, unless there's a way to put some kind of user data, and for that I would need like 2 bits of user. Actually, it doesn't even matter because I don't have unique identifiers for my instances anyway. Um, Actually, that's a problem, isn't it? I'll need to have unique identifiers for my instances because, like, I can't just use a vector anymore. If I use a vector and I remove something before it, the position of whatever is after it moves, so I can't do that. Filter map exists, by the way? Yeah, I always forget that. I'll fix that in a minute. There's a thing at the bottom, tab moves focus. Yeah, I didn't notice that until now. I be slow. Okay, yeah. So let's assign unique IDs. Actually, if there's something I can attach to a rigid body, I'm guessing that a collider can tell me what rigid body is attached to, right? Parent? Ah, parent is the rigid body it's attached to. It gives me a body handle, and I'm guessing that with the body handle and the bodies, that's rigid body set or something. Is that what it is? Rigid body set? World rigid body set. With a rigid body set, I can get a rigid body, and with the rigid body, I could probably... Oh, there is a user data. Cool. Okay. So if I can take the user, if I can fit into 128 bits, like some kind of unique handle of the object, then I can like map that back to model type and actually I don't need to I don't actually don't yeah think about this. The way I already filter everything through to make draw batches, I can just store all my objects in one big hash table by this by these IDs. So let's just define an ID to I don't even need all 128 bits. We can just use like usize or something. So models, let's define a type for this. So where to put it? Maybe between model and model instance, or actually, I guess mod after this, right? Pub type instance handle. Wish I could type. Well, is usize. Okay, and then let's define another type. Instance set is a hash map from instance handle to instance. And then let's have an instance remember what type it is, because that's how I get back to to its model. What's the error here? Cannot find type. Oh, I think I imported the wrong thing. Yeah, we want to import it from standard collections. So I might have imported the wrong thing. That's okay. We're looking good now, right? Oh, I don't want to bring it from the prelude. That comes from geometry. Nope. Okay, is it app that imports a lot of this stuff? Dynamics. Dynamics. So what does geometry have in it? Okay, the collider stuff. Collider builder, collider set, narrow and broad phase. Okay, that's what it has. All right. So yeah, I wanted to put its type. Can I use type? Or is that a keyword? That's a keyword. So model type. So that lets me get back to the I don't have model type. Oh, that's not a concept that's in this, is it? So what if I just have another handle here? Yeah, let's have two kinds of handles. Model handle. And so this will just say which model it belongs to through model handle. And when we make an instance, let's pass that in, which model it belongs to, right? That makes sense. So then I can just put model here. Okay, and it doesn't hold on to an instance handle because it's just it comes in it's associated, it's the key in the instance set. Okay, so then back here. Oh, actually I just thought of something. Um I'm gonna want to like generate new instance handles on the fly. Same thing with model handles. So it would be nice to be able to like mint new IDs and have them use some kind of singleton. I haven't made a singleton in a while. It is what was it? I forget. What's a good way to make singletons in Rust? Like factory. We're in the embedded Rust book. I don't know if we want to be here. This is unsafe, isn't it? Yeah, it's unsafe to do this. Yeah, we don't want to do unsafe stuff. Refactoring.guru, never heard of this. Singleton. This is kind of cool. Like, explain what a singleton is. Doesn't say how to do it, though. This isn't Rust, is it? This is just a design pattern. Okay, I need to know in Rust. Wait, this was Rust. So how come we were looking at not Rust? Because that's the main article. Okay, so I want the code example in Rust. Oh, well, they just put it in main. Okay, that's weak. Yeah, but I'm trying to remember, was it once cell? Was that it? Once cell? Maybe that's it. Once cell. Yeah, once cell. Single silent values and lazy values. This is how you do it, right? You just make a once cell. There's lazy and standard now. Oh, cool. I don't need once cell. Once. Oh, look at that. Synchronization primitive, which can be used to run a one-time global initialization. Useful for one-time initialization. So we would just have it set some global to 0 or something, right? Or actually be better to how do you actually make a singleton with this? See. You still need unsafe, right? How do you do this without unsafe? I would use ref cell, wouldn't I? and just let the runtime, just let refself panic if we have contention over if I have multiple threads. I don't do this pattern enough to like know how to know exactly what to do here, so I might be stumbling through it. Yeah, so once cell, there's a once cell. Cell which can be written to only once, allows obtaining a shared inner value without copying or replacing it, like cell, and without runtime borrow checks. However, only immutable references, unless one has a mutable reference to the cell itself. Okay. Really, I want a ref cell, don't I? Once is the parameter one cell is useful type that lets you get the values. But I can do this with once cell, right? Or with ref cell. The problem is that it's unsafe to have static mutables, right? I guess I can just type what I want. So like we're gonna have like basically another structure called handle vendor. Well, model handle vendor. And we can derive a default from this. I think we should be able to. Because the only state it really needs to have is the next next handle, which is a model handle, which can be defaulted. So it'll have some implementation like vend the next one. So vend mutable. Well, no. Here's where if we did interior mutability, would solve it, right? Yeah. Don't we want this to be like a ref? Let's just start with this. So mutable self, it returns us a model handle. And then really it's let handle equals self.next handle, and then self.next handle plus equal 1, and then handle. That's how we vend one. Trick is to get like static mutable G model handle vendor of type. Well, can I? Do I have to have the type? I can't remember if I have to do this or not. This is where the once would work, right? Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Ref cells not sync. Static mutt. I'm just typing what I want to do. It's just like, what's the syntax for initializing it? You can't do it here, right? Is it with lazy? Easy. The difference here. I think I want this one. That's experimental only. Don't want that one. This is also nightly only. Really, they're all nightly only. So there is lazy now, but it is experimental. Go back to the example that they showed. Did they use it? No, they don't show how to do it with globals. That's the problem. Static something of some type equals lazy new. Yeah. Okay, so if I don't want to use an experimental API, so if once cell provides what we want without needing to use experimental, let's use that for now. 1.18. You want once lock with interior mutability? Okay, that's what I was wondering. Or can I just do lazy a lazy ref cell? No, I want a lazy something, and that something has a ref cell, right? Or do I not need a ref cell because once lock kind of shortcuts that? Do you experience in C++? Yes, I do experience in C++. About 20 years of experience. And I did C++ on this stream like before 2020. Then I learned about Rust, and now I only want to program in Rust. But I still know C++. RefCell isn't sync. You can't use it in statics. So multi-threaded app, does it matter if it's sync? Are you saying that there's a rule that it can't be static if it isn't sync? So then I'll probably run into that with the compiler, and I'll come back here and figure it out, right? We'll see. You're probably right, because a squared is very rarely wrong. 1.18. Compiler will not let you use non-sync in statics. Let's see it not let me. So the pattern is it's just static and then the thing. And it's probably going to say that it has to be all caps, right? Yeah, should have upper snake case. So let's just make it upper snake case. Upper or snake, right? Transform to snake case. Transform to uppercase, done. And then it needs to have a type immediately, right? Okay, so if I want a lazy import lazy from once cell sync. Model handle vendor. Okay, and then it basically equals lazy new with a closure that lets me just make it, right? So it's just model. Actually, I just say default. Okay, compiler's already screaming at me. For what reason? Because I didn't finish my work here. Oh yeah, it needs an argument. So we'll just give it 0 for now. Need to fix these other compiler errors because they'll get in the way. So they'll have an instance handle of 0. Well, so far it didn't scream at me, probably because I'm not using it though, right? So actually where I passed 0, shouldn't the new just return me the handle along with self? Wouldn't that be the better way to do this? That like have the model handle vendor be internal. So why don't we do that, right? So we would return not just that, but we'd also return the handle, comma, and we would let the handle equal model handle vector dot vend. Oh, this should be model handle. Okay. So then, oh, I have it chained though. I have to break that. Ah, it's gonna look a little ugly, right? So we'll have like cube handle and cube instance. equal that with no arguments, and then this becomes cube instance, so it just rewrites the cube instance. Function takes one argument. No, it shouldn't take an argument. Yeah, that go away. Oh, handle goes into it? Well, if the handle goes into it, then I don't need to return. Yeah, I didn't think that it went into it. Oh, that's the model. Oh, okay, I got this all wrong. It does still get a model. Eventually we'll want an instance though. So, that is a 0 for now. Okay. And same thing with the ground up here. Whoa. That totally didn't select what I thought it was. Why is it? Oh, because that little button's on. Turn that button off. Ground. Okay, and then this should be ground instance withdrawal order 0. We're not using the ground handle yet. I'll just put an underscore in front. Also, we're not using the cube handle, right? So another underscore. Okay, and here's the error that we were waiting for. Cannot borrow immutable static item. Right? So we want to use interior mutability in the thing. Then struct model handle vendor. Are you a game developer by trade or no? No, I'm not a game developer. I used to develop a game here on Twitch, but that was back before 2020. Now I'm actually not allowed to develop games because it's one of the conditions of my current job. I can work on games, but I can't. I have to keep it like to myself. I can't share it with anybody. I can show it to family members, basically. That's it. Inner. So this goes here. Inner is one of that. So I can't derive default on that, right? Oh, this is ref cell. Ref cell doesn't implement default. Aha! Ref cell cannot be shared between threads safely. So okay, I've hit the wall that A squared expected that I would hit. See, I don't want to have to synchronization, an unnecessary synchronization. What's the word? I don't want to have to do this. You think I should use RW lock? Don't mind me asking, what's your role title at the moment? What's its focus? I don't mind you asking, I just can't tell you because I can't talk about work. Suffice to say, I've been working in the industry for 26 years now. But yeah, that actually touches on the second thing I can't talk about, which is can't talk about work. The third thing is that I can't do open source. Reader writer lock. So we're always going to open it for writing, aren't we? Is this any better than a mutex? You think C++ is worth learning? Yes. Just search online for how many jobs require C++, and they're like millions. I think any language that's still being used is worth learning. Even COBOL, still being used, so it's worth learning. Depends on what kind of job you want, though. If you want a job in the banking industry as a programmer, learn COBOL. Don't learn C++. C++ is used a lot in embedded and like older programs that have a lot of history. So it's actually more likely, I think it's more likely if you get a job where you use C++, you're probably going to be working with a lot of legacy code. Mozilla isn't using C++ except in maintaining legacy code. Exactly. See, A squared, you and I, same wavelength, right? You're going to end up probably working on legacy code if you do C++. There's not a whole lot of new code written in C++ that isn't in like an extension of existing legacy code or is embedded. It's still a really great language for embedded because there are just C and C++ compilers for every kind of architecture you can think of. Whereas it'd be harder to find like a Golang implementation for every kind of weird microcontroller you might find. It did fund Rust to solve exactly the sort of problems it solves. Works according to all the reports. Yeah, but you can't run Rust on all architectures yet. So you might be stuck with C++ on some embedded platforms. This just feels weird. Maybe I just go to mutex, even though I don't need it. I don't think I should need it. Shouldn't I be able to declare that, hey, this is a single threaded? There's no way to like say to Rust, I will not call thread. I will not use another thread, right? It's impossible. So I really should just say that the whole thing is inside of a mutex, and so I don't need this inner, right? I basically wrap it in the lazy. Okay, I'm willing to accept defeat and make this a lazy mutex protected model handle vector. Port mutex from standard sync and we're done, right? We just need to do a mutex, the mutex new around the thing. And before we can vend, we have to lock it. Right? Do I have to unwrap? Panic if we couldn't lock the mutex, then we can vend the handle. Cool. Alright. I'm gonna want the same thing for instance handles. And it's gonna get a little repetitive because it's gonna be a copy paste of this. And to be like, Raimu, why did you just copy paste that? And my answer is that the instance handle is potentially a different type from the model handle. So yeah. Everywhere we see model, we want to replace that with instance. Instance. Look at that. It even preserved the uppercase there. Okay, and then I really wanted to use the instance handle because we're supposed to return an instance handle from that, right? So instance handle. Okay. Why am I getting a warning from here? A model is never used? Oh, I put it in there anticipating we will need to use it later. That's why. And then we don't have our instance set yet. That's something that the app has to hold on to. Inner. Yeah, this thing, right? We're gonna get rid of this hash map completely. Oh, I also need to have a model set, don't I? Need a model set. There. So those are our two containers, model set, instance set. Basically decomposing models into those things. So really, models becomes a model set, and model instances is a model instance set. Import that. Import that, but it got to be smart about it. Where are my models? Is it under crate? Yeah. So it's instance set as model instance set. Okay. So now we have a file that's too big, basically. Let's do the new first. Model instances. Okay, these are the wrong types now, so can I go to where I declare it? Probably up here. Collapse that so we can see again. Where do I create my models? Right here. Okay, that is correct, but we also want to make the model instances at the same time. And then when we insert into models, we're going to insert by the handle that we get. So this has to return a model handle and a self, because we need to do the same thing that model handle. Well, I mean model the instance new does. We have to grab this and use our vendor. There. So this is a model handle vendor. And then we're returning the handle and the self. Why did that format? It did format. Okay, nice. All right, fine. So then we get two things out of this, right? Cube model handle and cube model equal model new, and then we insert using the handle. And let's get rid of this type, because that'll help decompose things, right? So it used to be we tied them together, so I don't need that anymore because we're storing them separately, because it's easier when we store them separately. Go back to app new. Is that where we were? That's not exactly where I was. Where was I? Was here. Yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, can I just call insert? Insert doesn't take a tuple. If it did, I could pass that. I could pass model new directly to models insert, right? Anyway. So, okay, we have the same thing here. And I have to remember to do a models insert. Did I forget to do that with the ground? I never really added the ground to what was it before? To the models, right? Huh. Anyway, here's our ground. So here we're gonna get a tuple, right? Ground model handle and the model itself, which is mutable. And yeah, we're gonna have to insert it. Actually, I guess this isn't mutable anymore. Doesn't need to be mutable. Should probably put that into a function, because that's the same code here. The only difference are which vertices and indices to use, right? Oh, I'm also going to need to remember. I was going to say I need to remember the handle for like which type of model, but now that I think about it, I think the model handles are redundant because we already have a type for this. Yeah, this is redundant. What am I doing? I don't need the model handles. I only need instance handles. So I don't need model handle. Model set we already have a type for, right? Model type. I just need to move that from the app. Where we had it defined up here somewhere. Here it is. Here they are. I just need to move that. In the future, I might replace this with a handle type so I can have like types of models that are defined at runtime. But right now, the types of models are defined at compile time anyway. So I can just fold that into models. So a model set is just going from model type to model. I don't need a model handle anymore. Still need the instance handle. So this becomes a model type. What was that value going to be? Oh, it's right here. And that type was wrong. Okay. Fixing the things. So then this actually doesn't need to return it because the caller knows it already. We don't need that anymore. We don't need to return the handle anymore. And then back in the app, we don't actually have it anymore. This needs to be imported. Oh, it's not exported. Model type needs to be public. Okay, so app import from crate models. Got it. Next. Do you have a math background or no? I do have a math background. With graphics, you need to know basic linear algebra. And so I learned linear algebra in school, and then I forgot it. And then when I got interested in doing computer graphics, I realized I needed to relearn linear algebra. So I went and found online the closest thing to the textbook I remember having in school for linear algebra, and I bought that book. And then I read it again, and I'm like, oh, that's right. That's how you do matrix multiplication and finding the determinant and all that stuff, inverting a matrix and finding the normal of a vector and all that stuff. And then I forgot some of it again. And nowadays I will look stuff up online or look at my old code if I forget. But the other day I tried to make a perspective projection matrix and I failed like really hardcore fail. And then I found out that the algebra library in Rust just has a function that does it for me. So I just said, okay, I give up. I'll let the library do it for me. Linear algebra is really handy when you're doing graphics, especially when you're handling the different transforms for going between coordinate systems, world, camera, screen, clipping, all that stuff. At least the understanding at the high level of what the math means is important. That's probably the most important thing to know when you're doing computer graphics is linear algebra. Find Lemur so you can get into graphics? Yeah, linear algebra. In fact, almost any introduction to computer graphics that you'll find starts off on, hey, you're going to need to know linear algebra. So you should learn that first. What was yeah. In the introduction to wgpu, at some point they're going to say, you're going to need to know some maths Yeah, beginner. They say here, or do they just go into it assuming that you know it? Probably by the time we get to intermediate level. Okay, somewhere in here, they're going to do some math, right? Maybe this tutorial doesn't use math because it just kind of relies on the libraries doing it for them. Okay, well, I'm wrong about wgpu, but like if you like most OpenGL tutorials at least, will start explaining coordinate systems, and then they're gonna be like, well, you're not gonna understand coordinate systems unless you know some linear algebra, and so they'll give like a link or like some terms to search for online to like, you need to have these prerequisites down. Okay, we're gonna come back to the draw models. I have to update that later. Okay, creating this. We don't actually have a model handle anymore. We just have a model. And when we insert it, we actually use the type model type cube. Okay, and then same thing for the ground. Ground model handle becomes model type ground. This instance needs to be given this type now, right? Create an instance of the ground. And the same thing for cube. Where is that? Inside new cube, right? The types are wrong here. It's not models anymore, it's model instances. And so this, we already have a type for this, right? Model instance set. Okay, and then cube we already know. We don't need this, right? We don't need to do this. Oh, sorry, we do need to do that. We need to go to models. This name is confusing me. So let's call this instances. So we need to get it by no, we actually don't need to get it by. Yeah, never mind. It's here we have to put model type cube. Right, so we don't need this anymore. Instead we do instances. Right, we get back the handle. So it's this handle, we need to use it now. Instances.insert with the handle, the instance. That's how we do it. All right. Yeah, here's one problem is that we're gonna have to do this completely differently. We'll have to store, like, for the current kick function to continue working, the first time we create the new cube, we're gonna have to get that handle back out. And yeah, let's return that handle. Model instance handle, because we're gonna need to store that cube handle. Why is that? Can't find it. Do I need to import it? Did I not import that from models? Huh, okay. It says instance handle as. Okay, fixed. So Yeah, where we call this new cube, right? Find all callers, find all references. Here, when we create the first one, we need to like store that. So let first cube equal that, because that we need to put into our app state. I don't know where to put it. How about just put it at the end, and then go to the type and put it up here. That is an model instance handle, because that's going to be important later. All right, so drawing. I'm going to do that last. This is adding the collider for the ground. Yes. So what new cube does, we need to do for the ground. So which is that? So go back, and that replaces. So it's model. Did I call it model instances? I did. Insert ground handle, which we got here. I didn't mean to copy the whole thing. I can just type it. And the instance, we wait. What the heck is this? Do we still? I still have add instance. Yeah, I don't need that anymore, do I? I do need that, but it's going to be in a different form, right? Actually, I still need that. Take that back. That's because we have to expand the uniforms, the per instance buffer for the uniforms. Still need that. So I better be doing that in the new cube also. I am not, but I used to, right? I don't see it. Oh, I was. I was doing it right there. Okay, then I'll need an extra reference here to cube model. Is a mutable reference to a model, because we're gonna need that, because we have to say cube model.add instance, add oh, I need device 2 app. Okay. How did this get away with that before, not calling add instance? Oh, is it because I split it into 2? Oh yeah, okay, here I was doing it. Okay, never mind. I put it in the wrong place. So that can move up to here. Cube model can move up to here. Okay, and then where new cube is called, here we put cube model. Means it has to be mutable. And then the other place, there. This has got to mutate. Well, it's got to do self.model.getMute. Really, I should put something around this. If let some cube model equals all this stuff. We're going to put the cube model in here. Get mute model type cube. Then we can, if the cube model exists, then we can add an instance. Right, this is model instances. Okay. Right, here's where we needed that first cube, right? So we don't get the model, we don't get that. Instead we do model instances, and we get using self.firstCube unwrap, and then we don't need instances 0 anymore. Right? So we have a handle to the first cube. We just use that handle to get to its rigid body and then grab it out of the rigid body set, and we have it. Okay, so go back up here. This should be ground. And that takes the place of this, so I delete it. Okay, and then this needs to be mutable. Right. And then it's just the drawing is left, right? Anything else? Yeah, just the drawing code. Okay, so with the drawing code, we don't have a model with instances, models with instances. We have model. And that's not the right way to approach this, right? Yeah, so it's the other way around. We want to do, we want to iterate the model instances. So instead we get the instance handle, and the model of the instance. And we don't have this inner one at all. Or actually we do, because we have to like look up the do I need the model? Actually, I don't think I even need the model. I think this is just a single loop now, not 2 loops. What would you say your best method of learning was for code? I think the best way of learning for me is to walk through a tutorial introduction and follow along. And look, there's a cat behind me. She just jumped down, so you can't see her now. I like to follow along in tutorials. So that's why in this other tab I had this Learn GPU tutorial, which is right here. And I was learning how to use that library from that tutorial. Something that like has some prose to read, but then quickly gets into code examples. Like if you want to follow along, type this or copy paste this, and then it'll explain what it means. I think for me that's the best way to learn. And then just tinkering, trying to change things, see if I understand it. Okay, so when we're going through all the model instances, we still want to find a batch. The model type is now in the instance, right? Model model instance.model. I don't know why this is not letting me reference that. It's private. Okay, let's make it. Oh, that's right. I wanted to hide the types, so I guess we would have another method. Model self. I guess we can call that model type. Which just returns self.model. So back in the app, this would be model type function. Okay, so we find the batch with the matching model type and draw order. And if we find it, we add our instance to that batch. Otherwise, we make a new one. And we can just grab this one, right? Let model type equal that, because we'll use it in 2 places. There and there. Okay, it also wants the model. Why do we want the model? Why do we need that? Because draw needs it. Yep, draw needs it. But we can, given the model type, we can just look up the model list. So we don't actually need to put it in a batch. So I'm going to remove it. We don't need it there. And just drop it. when it comes time to draw, here we'll grab the model out. So let model, or if we can find the model, if let some model equals self.models.get batch.model type. If we can find the model that matches the type, then we can draw it, right? So that's model there. Okay, cool. That works. And we never needed this model, the instance handle. So I'll put an underscore in front of that. Okay. New cube. I'm missing an argument, right? Cube model instances. Oh, that's correct. What's the problem? Okay, let's read the error message. Borrow of moved value. Oh, because we moved it into the models, so we have to wait to do that. There. One more error. Same thing probably, right? Yeah, I'm using. I can't do that because I've already moved it in, right? No, that's not the error. What's the error? Moved where? Up here, right. So that needs to go down to there. And then one warning left. You seem to want to iterate on maps values. Oh, that's right. We can shorten this to instance. And we can just say instance.values. And then I don't need this in front, right? Perfect. Thank you, Rust. Let's run it. Make sure I didn't break anything. Oh, you're welcome, true set. Hey, look, nothing is broken. I can still add 250 cubes. Cool. The good thing now is that now that I have an instance set, I can iterate through all of them and delete the old ones, right? Where was I doing that? Did I actually start writing that, or did I not? Did I just think about writing it? Oh, here it was. I did start writing it. Probably doesn't do anything. Oh, it actually removes the colliders. Right, but we also want to remove the rigid body associated with it, and we want to remove the model instance. So given a collider, we can get its body by collider.parent. I thought I could call. Why can I not call parent? Oh, because it's a handle. We have to actually get the collider. Shoot. So if let some, because the collider handle might not be valid, right? Well, it always should be valid. So why can I not, yeah, we already had the handles before, so I should just be able to unwrap this, right? Oh, I think I know what the problem is. This colliders, this collider set, when you iterate it, you get back a borrow for a collider, right? And that borrow, yeah, I would run into a borrow checker problem if I actually stored them. Like here, if I did this, if I got rid of the map, for example, and then I said for handle collider, I think I'd have a problem, yeah, with this, right? Handle. Yeah, I'm gonna have a borrow checker problem. Cannot borrow as mutable because it's already borrowed. The borrow happens at 272 when we stored it. So yeah, that's the reason why I can't do that. When we get these colliders out, we're actually borrowing from the collider set. So it's a legit borrow checker problem that we only want to capture the handles so that we can release our borrow of the colliders so that we can borrow it mutably to remove them, and we can't remove them while iterating because we can't get both a mutable and an immutable reference at the same time. But the side effect is that I have to temporarily get the collider out in order to get its parent. Actually, I can do that in here, can't I? Can't I, like... Yeah, I should do it in here. Because we have the collider at this point, so I can ask the collider what's your parent. So given the handle and the collider, I can return it to a handle and a body. And that's our rigid body, right? Let body equal collider dot parent. It's private. Okay, how do I call get parent? I don't know how to do this. Get. How do I get the parent of a... Okay, I didn't know it was private. That's a problem. Can I not get collider? Can I not get the parent out of this? This is public. What's the deal? What's the type of collider? It's a reference, so why can I not get the parent out? A parent also exists, use a parentheses. Oh, yeah, forgot. So it's the term's overloaded. Okay, so given that I have optional rigid body handle, I guess we can unwrap that because there shouldn't be a collider without a rigid body if it's lost. Actually, that's not true. I might have a collider with no rigid body that also leaves the world, so the rigid body might not exist. Did I get the order of these wrong? I did. That should be collider and then body. Okay, so with that rigid body handle, this is what I'm gotta be careful about. It updates its parent accordingly. What does that mean? If wake up is true, the rigid body the removed collider is attached to will be woken up. Okay, so that means I should probably delete. Can I delete the rigid body when there's still a collider attached to it? Let's see. Can I move? Removes the rigid body and all its attached colliders. Oh, well that's convenient. So if we have a body, it'll remove the collider for me. So let's say if let some body equal body, then all that. Otherwise, we have to remove the collider ourselves. Okay, this is self.physicsengine.world.islandmanager. There's a lot of junk we have to give it. Colliders is self.physicsworld.colliders. Oh wait, that's the problem there. We're already iterating. Oh no, that's the collider set. Yeah, we're allowed to do that. Impulse joints, self.physicsworld.impulse joints, self.physicsworld.multi-body joints, and this is true. And what is my problem? Mismatched types. Oh, because this remove return something? Yes, so I don't need it. I can just say let, or just say drop, right? Thing we're not going to use that collider. And this should be that. What does this remove? Oh, wait. I don't need to drop it. It's automatically dropped. I just was missing the semicolon before. Somebody once told me. Somebody. Okay, so if there's a body attached to the collider, we remove it from the bodies, and because the documentation says it will remove all its attached colliders for us. How handy. If it doesn't have a body, we have to remove the collider directly. And I also want to get to the user data. Oh, that's right. We forgot to attach to the collider the the model handle. But let's say we did, right? So we would get let model handle equal collider dot user data. Is there no where did I see user data? It's a public field called user data. Oh, it's with the collider, so I have to get it here. Move that to there, and then collider body model handle. Move the model handle to there. Okay. While we're at it, since a squared reminded me, we can just do filter map, and we say if that, then sum. Well, this first, then sum of this, right? Else none. Else none. Handle. That's a shortcut to do filter followed by map. You do filter map, and then instead of, you take the predicate and you put it in an if else, and if it's true, you return something, otherwise you return nothing. Okay, model handle is U128, right? We have to cast that to our type. So that's tricky, right? So that's something like transmute or something. So model instance handle, that's the type we want to go to, right? So it's something like this. It's like standard mem transmute, and it's unsafe. Or can I use byte muck? I can do that, but it's going to be unsafe, right? So we'll take the cost of an unsafe. Need a second generic. How does that work? Source to destination. It should know the source. Shouldn't know the destination too. Can not transmute between types of different sizes or differently sized types. Well, I can do a usize from that. From. Oh, we're down casting, right? So I have to just do this, and I'm going to get a warning about truncation, which I'm going to ignore. Oh, because that is a usize, I don't need the transmute. So then I can just reduce this. That was the whole point, right? To using an integer, so I wouldn't have to transmute. But I thought I would get a warning about truncation. Interesting. And I'm not using the model handle because I just haven't used it yet. So let's do it. So self dot model instances dot remove model handle. Doing it unsafe sometimes can't hurt. Well, you just have to be careful, right? But why didn't I get a warning about going from a U128 down to a U size? Wouldn't, oh, because I did it as. Well, shouldn't I still get a clippy, pedantic warning about that? Shouldn't it say something like, you're going to lose precision? Anyway, why worry about whether I'm going to get a warning? So that's deleting it. now I need to add it in the first place. So that's when we give it to the physical world. So the physics world. So that happens. New cube somewhere here. Yeah, right here. It's when we make a collider. When we build the collider, can I like attach a user data? So I have to build it and then attach the user data and then insert it. So let mute collider equal that. Collider.userData equals the handle that we got. This one. So we need to vend it first, I guess. Then make the rigid body. We pass the handle in. Let's pass it second, just cuz. So this is model instance handle. Okay, and that is a lighter. How come I'm getting a compiler error? What did I do now? Say what? Oh, how did that happen? Wait, what did that used to say? Wait, I was already doing that? Why was I doing that? What's this insert with parent do? It returns the collider handle. Why was I doing... That's wrong. What was I doing before? Okay, somehow that got put in there. Oh, because I hit enter and I hadn't finished writing this. Okay, so this should be the cube handle. And this we can do like a U128 from. Really? Can't convert up? There we go, we did it. Okay. Now to test this, I want to display in the info overlay how many cubes we have. Actually, I think we already are, right? Maybe I don't need to change anything. Go overlay. This num cubes, right? How does num cubes get set? Oh. Okay, yeah, this is wrong. We don't want to actually set it. We want to actually get it from the map. So we're not going to add to it. There. It's going to be 0 to start with. We'll need to increment. We'll need to set it every time we redraw, basically. So let's go to that. Am I on Linux? Yep. It's the only reason you have a slider. Wait, that's the only reason I have a sister. What does that mean? Don't explain that. Don't answer that. So yeah, I should have... Did I make a command for that? I did have a command for that. What was it? Just bought a MacBook Air. Nice. It wasn't OS. I think it was Linux. Yeah, it was Linux. So alias com OS to Linux. Specs. Should I also have specs? Why not? Specs to Linux or OS. Doesn't matter. They all alias to the same thing now. So now if you do OS, it'll say I run Ubuntu on Parallels VM on a Mac Studio. All right, so then where do we draw? We draw inside here, draw. Okay, draw models. That's not the right place. Actually, it is the right place. No, it's not. It's not in draw. It's in redraw. Get draw and redraw confused. Because here's where we destroy all the models, right? And then it's going to be a frame late. Do I care? Because here's where the overlay gets updated. And here's where we're going to want to update it, right? So self.info overlay.numCubes equals self.model. Actually, we'll have to do it if let some cubes equals self.model instances.get model type cube. Then we're going to say to cubes, tell me how many you have. Store that in there. Why did that not work? Oh, sorry. I don't need to look anything up in the map. I was just confused. We get the length of the model instances. Oh, crap. It's harder than that. Yeah. Model instance is a mix of the cubes and the ground. We should, you know what we should do when we draw, we should do that update. So, yeah, I'll do it in draw because there's a point where we iterate it, where there's a convenient place where we can do it in this draw models, right? So, yeah, there we can update it because we can just say self.info overlay.numCubes equals 0, and every time we find a cube, we'll increment it. If model type equals model type cube, self.info overlay.numCubes plus equal 1. Oops. Self is not borrowed mutably. Well, we can change that. Can I not change that? Oh, mute goes here. And then this becomes mutable there. Uh-oh. Double borrow problem. Oh, we can't do it there. Shoot. Yeah, because once we open up a render pass and all this stuff, it borrows from our depth texture view, and now we're borrowing. We're borrowing for the whole duration of that render pass, so we can't open up a mutable borrow to the self there. So I gotta do this somewhere else. So let me take my code and move it. So this stuff we'll just do outside. Probably we should just do it here when inside destroy lost models. We'll just do it here. Or I could cheat. And every time I remove a cube, subtract 1. Wouldn't that be better? Every time we add a cube, add 1. Every time we subtract, we actually remove 1, we subtract 1. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I like it. So take that code and go to the destroy function. Destroy lost models. We'll say if we have to actually get it. If let some self.model. Oh, actually, no, we get it back when we remove it, right? Let model instance equal that. So if model instance, if let some model instance, because it could say, hey, you deleted it, but it wasn't there. If model instance dot model type equals model type cube. Then subtract 1. M1 chip? Yeah, it's M1. Wonder how well VMs run that? Pretty well, actually. What am I making in Rust? Project command tells me what I'm making. And then what I made last year in Rust is this. Made this keyboard in Rust. And that YouTube link gives you more info what I did. Are you running an ARM build on Ubuntu? Yes, I'm running an ARM build. We could probably see that if I opened up a terminal here and I did uname A. It is AArch64. I wanted to run Linux Mint, but I couldn't find an ARM build of Linux Mint. Question for you: what makes a good 2D side-scroller game for me? I like Metroid style 2D side-scroller games. Like I was playing on Epic earlier today and having a lot of fun with that game. So puzzle games that aren't too fast-paced. But I'm wondering why you asked me that. Are you going to offer me a free 2D side-scroller game? Okay, now we need to add one in the corresponding place. Actually, we have a nice function called new cube, right? Hey, why don't we do it there? Why not? Because we don't have access to it. What if we just go to all the references? Find all references, right? So here's one place. So I know I'm adding one, so I'll just add one here. +1 there, right? Why can I not do that? Oh, we're in app new. Then you know what I can do? When we set up where do we set it up? Here. I can just initialize that to 1. That's cheating though. What if I make it earlier? Make it before we make the models. Then I can make that mutable and just simply add 1 to it here. Cubes plus equal 1. Okay, and then the other place here. Self.num info overlay num cubes plus equal 1. Perfect. Let's try it. Time? You want my bot to tell you what time it is? I could add that command, you know. I just don't have it right now. I will offer you a 2D side-scroller game the chance to play it in a year or two from now, hopefully. Oh, nice. Are you developing it on Twitch? Because I wouldn't mind watching that while you're working on it. What's the difference between Mint and Ubuntu? I just think it's a different group of people that curate Mint. I think they start with Ubuntu and they like customize it in some way. Any specific reason for plus equals instead of plus plus? There is no plus plus in Rust. There ain't no plus plus in Rust. Sorry, bud. Use plus equal 1 instead. Rust has no postfix increment operator. Feels bad, man. All right. Well, there's our 1 cube. Do I dare add another one? I do dare. And there it is. There's our 2nd cube. Look at that. Look at that little guy. And then let's add 1,000 more. Boom! Cube explosion. Now hopefully, yep, there it goes. Counts going down as they get destroyed. And I crashed. Unwrap none somewhere. What? So here. Interesting. So at some point we wanted to get our first cube died. No, our first cube died. So what should we do then? Who's calling get cube body anyway? thought we only did that when we click on the... Oh, right, we're showing the position of the cube. So, yeah, we forgot to account for the fact that the first cube might be destroyed. So, yeah, what do we do? Well, I can do this, and now get cube body can return optional, right? And so then if we can't find it, if it's been destroyed, then we return none. So this would put a question mark here. Get return none, and then we don't actually don't need to unwrap that. There we go. So kick cube might return none. So I guess we can do. Oh, there's a new syntax for this, right? We can say what is it called? I forget. It's like if let some else return, right? Or I guess we can just put the rest of this. But there's a new syntax where you can do else return, and then we don't have to indent that body, right? I don't know if people like that better. Is that not the syntax that you can do now? Oh, it's let else. So then we don't have to indent that body. It's like an early return. So I can do that. That didn't exist a couple years ago. Yeah, let else. You're developing off Twitch. Okay, you're working full time and having to stream after work would drain you. Yeah, it drains me too. That's why now I stream before work. Ha! I think Python doesn't have it either. If I program in Java, yeah, it's been a few years though. I did Java when I was working on Android apps for my previous job. Let some cubebot equals thing else unreachable. You know, in this case, it is reachable. Can you click links? Is it allowed? I can show you a bit of what I'm working on. Since you asked nicely, sure, you can post a link. What do you think is the most valuable characteristic for a programmer to have? I would say the most valuable would be scientific thinking. So acquiring knowledge through either experimentation or reading what others have written down about it. And like when you can't figure something out, like using a scientific approach of like experiment, like making a guess and then seeing if the guess is right. I don't know. Maybe that isn't the most valuable. There's that, and then there's also like the ability to look stuff up and find out answers that are online, right? So if you don't know how to do something, if you know how to look it up online, that's really valuable for a programmer to have. Learning and understanding, I'm trying to be more specific than learning and understanding, but sure, at a general level, being able to learn and understand, and maybe inquisitiveness, like being interested in how things work and how to think logically through something, those are all valuable to have. Resilience. Yeah, not giving up. I mean, I guess you'd find something else to do if like you weren't resilient, and you wouldn't be a programmer anymore. Because you're going to get frustrated at times. Okay, so what do I do? Right, this would be and then I think. And then how do we do this? This has to take like dot, right? No, and then is if the other thing returns it's map, isn't it? Map. Not map. No star in front, maybe. Okay, what did I get wrong here? Mismatch types. Expected an option of one type, found another. Okay, so Do I need a star in front of that? That's what it was. Need a star right there. Kind of wish Rust included a binary plus plus operator, given that they removed this post pre-increment, but it's no big deal. Is that why they removed it? Oh no, you didn't say why. They removed it for some reason, right? Like to say you're not using any libraries, not even for text input output, you're drawing numbers from predefined sprites on quads. Yeah, that's what I did when I was playing around with games. Working on your editor, once you finish, you can build the game. You have an option to code the game straight away, but building the tools to help you That's exactly what I did. Thank you for that. I'll look at that later. Copy link. Oh, there was something else I was supposed to look up, right? Someone, Math42 asked me to watch a YouTube video. I forgot to look at that. So this is from Itamoy. Yes, so both Hemant and now Itamoy have things for me to look at. Feel free to join the Discord, and at some point I'll give feedback on if you have things for me to watch like that. As long as there aren't too many of them and you ask me nicely. You think they removed the plus plus for minimalism and ease of teaching? I find it kind of annoying though that you grow to expect plus plus and minus minus in a language, and then when it's just not there, you're like annoyed. You're like, can't you figure it out? Plus equals 1. Okay, let's see. So now, what am I drawing if there is no position? I think I'm not drawing anything in that position. I'm not. I think this row actually goes away if the cube gets destroyed, right? Actually, let's just kick the cube around till it goes off the edge, and we'll see it. See what happens to that cube position row. A little bit more. Kick it more. Let's watch closely as it goes over the edge, shall we? Kick. A little bit more. A little bit more. Oh, it's right on the edge. It's teetering. And there it goes. And, yep, the row goes away. It works. Add another cube. Back in business. But it's not our alpha cube anymore, so we don't get a position. I wonder if, like... I think, yeah, when we do get a cube, we should make it the alpha cube again, right? So that would mean when we do new cube... I'm just having so much fun. I hope you guys are too. When we call new cube, up here, we're going to check, hey, if self.firstCube, well, we have an old handle. It might not mean anything. So should I make this an option? Actually, we'll just have it look it up. So if self dot model instances dot get first cube is none, then self dot first cube equals a new cube handle, which I hope I assign to this. Do I return the handle? I do. Look at that. Then that means that the very next cube that is created after the old one is destroyed will become the new alpha. So there's going to be one problem though. If we don't add one, we won't see a new one, even if there are existing ones. So if I add one, it becomes the new alpha cube and I can kick it around. But if I add like 1,000, and then that original one dies, we don't actually get a new alpha cube, and kick won't work, right? And reset won't work until I add one more, and then that's the new alpha. Kick it around. There we go. I think I'm fine with that though. There it goes. Bye-bye, cube. And it's gone. Cube explosion. I like this. So now we're destroying them when they basically fall to -100, and it's just the ones left on our little platform that are remaining. So there are 68 cubes there. All right. What time is it? 7:30. It's gonna be dinner time soon. How are those UI components rendered? I'm glad you asked. We're rendering using wgpu. I will show you in our renderer. Where is it? Here. So our render is given 3 structures: the subject to draw, the tools in which to draw them, and a configuration, right? So we decompose that. We set up a pre-constructed render pipeline to give to a render pass that came with the tools. We set up a vertex buffer for the geometry of the cube, and then another vertex buffer for all of the cube instances, because we're going to draw them all together, right? And then there's also an index buffer for like the geometry. Then I compute a view transform, so that takes into account like the camera angle and how far away the camera is from the platform. And then we apply a perspective projection. And this I tried to do by hand last week and I failed miserably, but Perspective 3 new does it for us, so good to go. We compose all those matrices together. I store that. I use it and combine it with a model transform for every model, and then put that into that per instance buffer, and then we call draw index. So a lot of these things only make sense if you've seen wgpu stuff before, and I can explain them if you have specific questions. But essentially, draw indexed actually does the drawing call, and you tell it how many instances we're drawing, and a subset of the indices, because each time you draw, you could pick from a different spot in the index buffer. I think that's also an offset as well. Is it? It's a base vertex, yeah. So you can draw part of an object, but we're just deciding draw everything from 0 on and draw all of them. So ultimately, that's how we draw it, with wgpu's draw indexed. There's a lot of setup though, right? You have to have a render pass. You have to have an index buffer, a vertex buffer. You have to have written stuff into those buffers. Here's where we write to the instance, per instance buffer, but there's a per vertex buffer and there's an index buffer. And then where it goes in the GPU, it's going to go through 2 stages of shader programs, right? So my shader programs are really simple. Here's what they look like. First, we go into the vertex shader. We have the geometry of the object we're drawing. In this case, it's a cube, right? And we have our uniforms, which is really just a matrix, a 4x4 matrix. Unfortunately, you can't use a matrix type in vertex shader input, so we have to decompose it into its I think columns, and then we reassemble them here, because we're going to take the position of every vertex, multiply it by that transform, and that becomes the clip position, which is a special variable in the output. And then we pass through. Color comes in along with the position of every point. So they're colorful because I made each vertex a different color. And when it gets to the next stage, the fragment shader, the color of every fragment is an interpolation of the colors of all 3 vertices of the triangle the fragment belongs to, like kind of like interpolated based on the distance between each of the vertices. And all that's fascinating stuff that you can find in almost any graphics library intro, and I won't go into any more detail in that, but yeah, this is kind of how it looks. So I gave like a spotty definition or description of how I'm rendering those UI components, or the oh, you said UI components though. I completely described the wrong thing. I'm sorry, Effie. I should have. I think you were referring to. I thought at first you were talking about how to generate the world with wgpu. I think you were talking about this. So that is a completely different pipeline that we're merging at the end. That's written with egui. Egui is in the end drawing the same way with wgpu, but the way we get there is completely different. So that I apologize. I thought you meant the graphics, not the GUI elements. Even though you wrote the word GUI, I just didn't read it. So backing, like we had that render pass when we drew our models, right? But when we got the render pass out, in addition to drawing those models I just described, we also pass it to an egui renderer. That is an integration library between egui and wgpu, right? So it does a lot of cool things for us. It will, taking the render pass and a bunch of triangles that we generated from egui and a description of how big and tall the screen is, it paints it all. Next question would be, how did we get these triangles? Well, I'm glad you asked. So if we go to call hierarchy, redraw call draw with a bunch of egui triangles. We got them from here, the tessellate function. So egui context lets us turn into triangles. That's what tessellate means. The shapes that we get from the output of egui. We get the output of egui by running the context with input. So like the latest mouse gestures and button downs and key presses. And then inside of the run, we're given a context in which we're allowed to describe our user interface. And that's where I delegate to this info overlay object. And it says, okay, within that context, we want a top bottom panel. And that just has to be unique. So I just named it block because I couldn't think of anything better. Within that top bottom panel, we're going to have a frame with a 10 pixel margin. And inside of that frame, we're going to show whatever add content returns. That's going to have a horizontal area with 2 labels in it. And if we have a cube, we're going to draw another label. And then we're going to have another horizontal area where we have a label, a slider, a button, and then a second button. And then, so these are the different rows, right? So it's pretty much a mix between declarative and imperative, right? We're sort of, in the order in which we do things, we're sort of declaring that, hey, we're going to have a horizontal bar with 2 labels. But the way we're declaring that is we're actually like immediately like saying, make a label now. And that sort of encodes in this UI exactly what we want it to draw. And like everything it needs to draw, the content of all the text, which font to use at what size, and all that stuff. The sliders and stuff, yeah. Kind of like IMGUI. The eGUI is based or inspired by IMGUI, is what I heard of. So if you know IMGUI, then you know eGUI. It's very similar. I think the only substantial difference between them is eGUI is pure Rust and IMGUI, I think, is C++. So yeah, the input that comes from WInit gets pre-processed through eGUI, and if eGUI accepts the mouse click, that's interesting. That shouldn't rotate. I thought I fixed that. Oh wait, no, that should rotate because that's what that slider means. See, I have it so that if I click outside of the eGUI, I interpret that as moving the camera. If you click inside the eGUI, eGUI captures that event and it doesn't. So like if I only move the elevation, it's not doing the same thing as if I drag slightly down below it, right? And that was a bug I had yesterday that I fixed today. Do you write code for your day job still? Yes, I do. But the difference is my day job is not coding Rust. It's doing other languages. So I don't get to program in Rust a whole lot. So I now am streaming with my hobby stuff in Rust in order to keep my skills sharp and learn libraries that I wouldn't otherwise be using. Do I really care that that little plate doesn't show up from the other side? That's shape culling, right? I could turn off shape culling and it would still show. It would show up. Looked at iced? No, haven't looked at iced. Oh, I see little green particles around me. That means it's getting dark and my light is not good. Should I work on that? Fix my chroma key. Probably needs to show up more saturated. Nope, that's wrong. Wrong direction. There, the other way. I guess it's more saturated at night, and maybe the hue is different. That's pretty good. We'll go with that. Need to have like 2 different color filters, day and night. All right, cube explosion. It's the stress test, right? Can I make this thing break? It does drop to 58 frames per second for a little bit, but it does quickly recover as long as we're deleting cubes back out. It's raining in front of the camera. All right. Get up close and personal to this. And we don't have a cube to kick, so we need to add one. And there it is. Kick it. Probably what I want to work on tomorrow is actually give real textures to these cubes. So that's a bit of learning in wgpu, right? Been playing around with the physics engine a lot today, and maybe the next thing to do with the physics engine is to work with more complex shapes that actually have meshes and aren't just cuboids. Oh, I'd also like to do hit testing so that I can like click and like if I'm pointing at a cube, have it like show up differently, or maybe be able to drag it around, or maybe just like apply impulses when I click on things. Wouldn't that be cool? Does this compile for RP2040 target? I think you're getting 2 different things confused. I used the RP2040 for my keyboard. So look, I got 2 RP2040s in the part where you see the blinky LED. What this is just compiling to the web or to the desktop. So I'm not sure where you got the RP2040 unless you're talking about my keyboard project, which I was working on last year. Okay, our alpha cube is still there. It survived the cube explosion. Oh, no, now it got knocked off. Reset it, and there it is. Could you could make the cube the alpha cube on click? Oh, that's true. Then we could like inspect different ones. Yeah, so I think I'll work on that tomorrow. I gotta wrap things up because it's almost dinner time. This is all good, so let's check it in. I did a bunch of changes, but the main thing was we destroy cubes that fall too far below the ground. That's essentially what I did. There's a lot of work that went into that, but let's see what else I marked up to do. Clean up something. What do I want to clean up here? Oh yeah, this clumsy construction of a rotation, right? Unit quaternion from an axis angle, but then the axis had to be a unit vector, and I want to describe it arbitrarily, so that I call it new normalize. Yeah, okay. Not today. Okay. Take model off the re-exported names. I did that, so that's done. Done! And then we probably want to own instances? No, we don't. Why am I doing that? Oh, that's because we need to know how big to make the per instance buffer. So there's a good reason to do that, right? It's when I draw the instances in batches. I need to have a buffer big enough to hold one set of uniforms for every instance. So we need to know maximum how many there might be. So we need that. Need to keep that. Okay, so quickly add that. I've been sitting too long. Another reason I gotta end the stream soon. I gotta actually get up and move around. Okay, so remove completed to-dos. I'm going to back up off the virtual machine. So that sends it outside the virtual machine, and just run it one more time. What's your favorite thing about Rust, and what's your least favorite thing? I think the least favorite thing, are some of the weird syntactical constructs. Some of them are like really clumsy. Like that to do that I just showed you. It's not the worst, but like, and it's not really Rust's fault. It's really these libraries. The library this comes from is called Nalgebra. But yeah, sometimes having to know when to borrow something and when not to. Sometimes I just get annoyed at the compiler. I'm like, compiler, why can't you just figure it out? And I know the real reason why is that in order to figure it out, it would become somewhat ambiguous, and then it could misinterpret your code. So it's sort of like, it's very, very picky, you know? But there's a good reason why, but it still annoys me. So that's maybe my least favorite thing. My favorite thing about Rust is a lot more of the times than in any other language, when I get the program to compile, it just works. Like, very few crashes compared to other languages I write in. And a lot of that's because the compiler does a lot of work up front and catches a lot of mistakes because it's so strict. I'm finding that writing Rust, the more mutability you use, the more you have to fight the borrow checker. Yeah, I'm finding that too. And I'm more and more hacking things in with refcell. And maybe that's a bad thing. So, like my app, I think I very quickly moved to a refcell approach. And you'll see this a lot where you have a structure, and that structure, values of that type, need to be passed around to a lot of different things, so they're like borrowed widely. But some places you gotta mutate the thing, and you just can't do that with the compiler will yell at you. So the escape hatch that I fall into more and more is move everything to another structure called inner. So this is the actual app state, and you link them through a ref cell, and whenever you need to mutate it, you just borrow mute the thing. The cost of that is at runtime, it will do a borrow check at runtime, and it will panic if you violate the rules. Right? The compiler doesn't do as much for you, and it's up to you to avoid a panic by having a borrow mute when it's already being borrowed. And yeah, I wonder if this escape hatch, if I abuse it too much, will I fall into the trap of having too many ref cells, and then I'll be back to something like C++, where basically everything is mutable. You can even use constcast to break constants, and then I just get a lot of runtime bugs because of it. Coming from a more functional background where if it compiles, it works, it's fairly the norm. Being able to do that in a systems language is pretty great. Right. I want to actually move more of my coding to a functional style anyway, so Rust sort of pushes me in that direction. There's a great talk by Destroy All Software about unit testing, and it pushed the idea of if you structure your program so that the testable parts are pure functions, it's super easy to separate things, and you don't need mocks, and yeah, it's way easier. And I've been trying to pick up some of those concepts, but I'm still not there yet. Anyway, I hid my window. I don't know why I did that. I need to raid someone because I need to go eat dinner. So one more kick and one more cube explosion. And while that resolves itself, I'm going to see if I can raid someone. Oh, more cubes. And one more. While I click on someone to see if they're still going. And then one more, because I got an ad. We're going to raid Thelda Valen, I think. Back. Start. One more cube explosion. We're going to raid Thelda Valen. I still have an ad for 20 seconds. So I'm going to BS for 20 seconds before I hit that rate button. I'm not sure what he's working on because I'm seeing an ad, but his title says Getting Names to Work for ASCII Bear Colors. Wonder what that is. 5 seconds and then I'm going to hit that button. Actually, I'm just going to hit the button now. So see you later. I should be back tomorrow morning. Bye.